Hi, welcome to video number 12. This time I want to talk a bit about domestic violence. Typically we're talking about conflict between partners, but clearly it spreads to kids and anyone else in the family and anybody else hanging around. Now this is related a bit to PTSD. Partly if one of the people in the family's got PTSD, being angry and violent is one of the things that comes with the condition of PTSD. The other connection is if you are on the end of some domestic violence, you can very easily develop PTSD. Domestic violence scars people for a very long time. Okay? Everybody in society knows domestic violence, or they know about domestic violence because it's one of our big scourges. We have publicity campaigns highlighting the problem. There is lots of legislation in place. There are family courts. The police are specially trained for it. Everybody knows about AVOs. Domestic violence is a big public issue. The particular issues for cases, well, they can be pretty complex. Domestic violence can sort of happen at all levels of society. So there are lots of different ways of looking at it. But there is one factor that I think is common to just about all of them. I think it is hugely important, and for some reason it hardly ever seems to get mentioned in public. Now I'll tell you exactly what it is in a moment, but first I'm going to pose you a simple question to get you start thinking about it. What do these following situations all have in common? Okay, these are people that I've known, but you put it together. There's a woman turns up with a broken nose and a black eye. One case. The man turns up complaining about a bad back. Case 3. Woman moves out of a big, reasonably fancy sort of house into a very small, pokey kind of apartment just so she can get a peaceful night's sleep. Okay, number 4. Man has lots and lots of scars from knife wounds. They're all over his hands, his arms, his face, his head, his back. He's got lots of them. And 5th and last one, a woman whose body is riddled with cancer. She's in a really bad way. Okay, so there you are, 5 different cases. What's the common factor? What's your answer? Well, my answer is anger. They all had a partner or spouse who was a very angry person. I think anger is the key factor in domestic violence. I think it's the key factor in all sorts of violence. It can be anger over relatively small issues or issues that sort of come and go pretty quickly. It can be deep-seated anger from events that happened a long, long time ago, and they may have happened long before the current partner ever came on the scene. The anger can arise from all sorts of disagreements and frustrations somewhere else, apart from at home, like at work or anywhere else. And the violence that results from the anger, it's not necessarily in the form of a direct physical assault. Okay, I'll run through the examples. The woman with the broken nose and the black eye, she was married to an angry alcoholic. Now, I never met the guy, but he was obviously quite angry from a very long way back. He would typically go get pissed on the way home from work, then he'd come home, take his frustrations out on her. This has been getting worse and worse and worse for years. I mean, this attack was not the first by a long shot, but in her case, it was the last straw. The man with the bad back. Okay, he had a very angry and very selfish wife. Whenever she didn't get exactly what she wanted, she blamed him for it all. She would yell at him and she'd kick him out of the bed and he'd end up sleeping on the floor. Well, he'd been sleeping on the floor for a while when he turned up complaining of his bad back. Okay, the woman who had to move house out of the big house in the poky little apartment because she wanted a night's sleep, she had a very angry partner. I don't think he ever actually hit her, but he was very angry about most things most of the time. He'd go into his little rants and raves, he'd yell and he'd throw stuff around. It's not like it's reduced his anger, he just did that sort of thing. Even at night when he was asleep, the woman could just feel him sort of, oozing anger all the time. Got to the point where she couldn't sleep in the same bed because he was just so angry. She couldn't even be in the same house. She just felt she had to be on a guard all the time. So, wanted his night's sleep, go and get it somewhere else. The man with all the knife scars, well, he'd been attacked by his partner. She got into one of her rages and she tried to kill him with the carving knife. In his words, I tried to help her, but she was a very angry woman. And the woman with the cancer, well, she was totally stressed out of her head. Basically, she was wishing herself to death to get away from an angry husband and a bad home situation. Now, I know this last comment will raise a few of your eyebrows, but negative emotions are a big part in a lot of the physical illnesses. A topic for a future video, but for the moment, just believe me or just accept it, that strong negative emotions are a factor behind a lot of illnesses and accidents. If a person wants out of a bad situation and they want out badly enough, their body will oblige them, grant their wish somehow, even if it just about kills you in the process. Now, maybe only 2 out of my 5 examples would fit the police definition of domestic violence. But from where I sit, physically attacking your partner, it's only one way of making them suffer, and it's one way of destroying a relationship. Okay, let's talk a little bit about anger. Now, everybody has felt angry about something at some point in their life. Maybe you get frustrated because you didn't get what you wanted or you didn't get what you expected. Maybe you felt you'd been unjustly or unfairly treated. Basically, you got ripped off. But the biggest cause of anger is people feel unloved. Some variation, maybe they feel hated, rejected, abandoned, but it's all around this theme of feeling unloved. It's almost like I don't feel the love, I get angry. And of course, the people that you expect to love you the most are firstly your parents, then your partner, and maybe your children. If they reject you, it really hurts. And I reckon some variation on this is probably the biggest cause of anger, which might be related to why you get so much domestic violence. Now, a few more things about anger. Anger accumulates. It doesn't easily disappear, but it can easily sort of come. It's like every experience in your life where you felt cheated, disappointed, unloved, rejected, ripped off. It's like it puts a deposit into your anger bank account. The amount of anger keeps sort of piling up. The number of things that make you angry or that you get angry too increases because they remind you of previous things that are already in your bank account. So more deposits plus a bit of interest and the bank account keeps growing. Same for your little anger bank account. Okay. Anger affects your thoughts and your actions. So you increasingly think of the world as a bad place. You become overly sensitive to circumstances. You react quickly and badly towards even slight provocations. Now, the anger sort of builds up and it comes out in a lot more places. It affects a lot more of you in a lot more situations. Anger spreads itself around and, of course, it bounces back to you. If you get angry with another person, okay, you dump on them. Their response is they feel hurt and angry about it, and they will maybe fight back or maybe just avoid you. So you hate them, they hate you. Their anger becomes yet another reason for you to keep getting even more angry. All right? Now, when a person gets angry, what are they going to do? What are they going to do with all that negative emotion? The obvious thing is, well, I direct it outwards to someone else that seems to be causing me frustrations and grief. Might come out in a verbal attack, might be physical attack. Some people will direct it outwards, but it's not in a direct way. It becomes like some kind of a plot or a scheme. It might be a sneaky way to get revenge, or it might be some way to sort of force these people to give you what you want. And some people will go up on the outwards thing. They will turn it all inwards. They will bottle it up, focus it in here until it destroys their own mind and eventually their own body. Now, I don't see any of these things as really good options, but you've already seen them at work in those examples I gave you earlier. Why doesn't the legislation, the police interventions, the AVOs, the family court, the compulsory counselling, the publicity campaigns, etc., work to stop domestic violence? Good question. To some extent, they do help, but clearly they have not stopped the problem. And the answer is, basically, you just cannot legislate to force people to stop being angry. But you can't pass a rule and say you can't be angry or you must be happy. The government can pass the rule, but it doesn't work quite like that. See, anger is a very primitive and very strong emotion. If somebody gets angry enough, the emotion is going to override their thinking processes. It'll override any external kind of constraints. They're going to have their angry outburst almost no matter what. Now, even if they get very remorseful later for it, or they get all sorts of penalties for it, okay, that doesn't stop them from doing it. The threat of these things, and even after they have done it and after they have suffered the consequences, it won't stop them getting angry again in the future. Yeah, the emotion is that strong. It just overrides everything else. So unless you find some way to start reducing, dissolving, redirecting in a healthy way someone's anger, these other forms of intervention will only have limited outcomes. Now, being a therapist, obviously been interested in how you can reduce someone's anger. I found there are actually lots of different ways to go about it. But the ones that I found that work or work better seem to involve some variation on energy rebalancing, relaxation, meditation, prayer. There are things that are sort of pushing the envelopes for ordinary counselling type areas. Now, possible exception would be if the anger directly relates to a particular physical problem or a particular physical illness. You sort out that particular physical problem, and a lot of people, the anger will ease, but there's no guarantee. Sometimes the anger sticks on anyway. Now, the spiritual healing that I do is, to my knowledge, the best form of therapy, the best way to reduce anger. But like I say, that's just what I know. I don't know everything. Unfortunately, I'm trying, but I don't. So, another obvious question: why don't the angry people themselves try to get some help to drop their anger and become happier? Now, again, it's a really good question, and I can't give you a simple answer. Generally, the people that I've seen, they have been the victims of someone else's anger. Now, occasionally, the angry partner will get dragged along or sent along by the victimized partner. You know, like if you want to stay married to me, pal, you're going to go get some treatment, you're there. But basically, the angry person doesn't see it as their problem. Part of being angry about things is everyone else is an idiot. You know, the other people are either out to get you or circumstances are all against you, and their anger is a perfectly natural and perfectly reasonable response, well, at least in their eyes. And often they don't think a whole lot in a positive way about me either. They've come under some duress, and mostly they're focused on trying to prove that therapy doesn't work rather than they are focused on personal change. Not a little twist. When I put it to them that you can't make somebody like you by bullying them into it, it takes a lot for them to even think about accepting this idea. But if you think about it for a moment, it should be pretty darn obvious, like the nose on your face. Just like the government can't legislate to make people stop being angry, because it just doesn't work that way. If you're the angry guy, yelling at somebody or whacking them, it's just not going to work to make them like you. You can't make people love you or respect you or like you by yelling at them and hitting them. It just doesn't work that way. Okay, so what can we do right now in this video? Well, in a moment, I'll do another healing meditation. This is for you, for anybody watching the video. So if you're watching, you're probably the victim. Maybe you're looking for solutions for your angry partner. So by all means, get them to watch this video with you. Now, all I really ask you to do is to be prepared to let go of your anger. No matter how justified you think it might be, no matter how deep-seated or long-held it is, you can get some kind of relief and it can be eased off. Okay, but you've got to be here, you've got to play the game, and you've got to, a little bit of work on your part in the process. So if you consciously know what you are angry about, and this may not just be the current thing that bugs you, this might be sort of way back when you were abused or neglected as a kid, or it could be something deep-seated and a long time ago. But if you know what you are really angry about, and you can make this conscious decision that said, look, I'm going to help myself here a bit, I'm just going to let this go, I'm just going to drop it, that will help your case enormously. For some people, if they could do that by themselves already, and that was all there was, well, they would have sorted the problem. But usually that's just a part of it. It's not the whole answer. Still, it's a useful thing. Okay, now lie down, sit down quietly in front of this video while I get into my healing meditation. So please No multitasking, just be there, let the healing energy seep into you and do its work. Hopefully this will greatly reduce, maybe even totally dissolve your anger. And while you're there, I'll pose this question. You don't have to answer it to me, but you might want to answer it to yourself at some point. You might want to ponder it while you're just sitting there and I'm meditating. Is your partner the most important person in your life? Now, if anybody was to disappear from your life, that would leave a hole. But usually your partner is the most important, and if they disappeared, it would leave a much bigger hole and cause you a lot more pain and trouble than if anybody else disappeared from your life. Okay, so assuming you're answering yes, the follow-up question is, why don't you treat them better than everyone else you know? Now, most domestic violence cases, the people treat their partner worse than everybody else. I'm saying, no, you got this the wrong way around. If they are the most important person to you, this doesn't mean they're a safe harbour to come home and dump on. It means you should treat them better than everybody else. Okay, same question, different twist. Why don't you do everything that you reasonably can do to keep them happy? It's still something to think about. Okay, I'll disappear in the meditation pose, 15, 20 minutes again. You just sit back, let it happen. I'll talk to you again when I've finished. Okay, good night. Let's do it. Okay, time to wake up. Just very gently bring yourself back to your waking consciousness, just like you do when you wake up in the morning. Might need a little bit of a stretch or a yawn, but come on back. Mind you, if you stay asleep, that's not a problem. You'll eventually wake up anyway. Okay, I hope that's been of some use to you. And if you ever feel angry or get into this violent sort of stuff again, go back and do the video again. Okay, that's all for now. Bye.